The transmission came without warning, just static at first. A deep pulse followed, one that rattled the hull of the Virellan Ark, a diplomatic envoy ship belonging to the peaceful Trinari species. Ambassador Zaral's 4 hearts skipped a beat as his sensor officer's eyes widened. "Captain, there's something out there, and it's massive." Zaral moved toward the bridge's central viewing platform. The deep space void beyond the reinforced glass shimmered with unusual energy. He squinted, his translucent skin crawling with unease. "Are we picking up any biological signals?" "No," came the shaky reply. "No signs of life, but it's definitely a ship, not ours. And I think it's human." Silence dropped across the bridge like a guillotine. The word human carried weight. Too much of it. Dangerous, unpredictable, savage creatures. The Council of Peace had declared them a non-threat centuries ago after the destruction of Earth. Their own war with NII had wiped them out, or so it was believed. But here, floating in the forbidden silence between galaxies, was a vessel bigger than any known Trinari craft. Angular, monolithic, covered in weapons systems whose signatures were decades ahead of Council tech. "It's broadcasting something," said the comms officer. "A signal. Repeating." Zaral's mandibles twitched. "Play it." A cold, metallic voice echoed through the chamber. "Warship Leviathan. Human origin. Mission, reconquest. Interference will be met with total annihilation." The crew stared at each other in disbelief. "I thought they were gone," whispered one of the junior officers. Zaral didn't respond. He couldn't. His mind was already racing, trying to comprehend what kind of species returns to deep space in a warship that size, after supposedly erasing itself from history. He turned to the navigator. "Back us away now. Slowly. Do not engage. Do not respond." But it was too late. The Leviathan moved. Not fast, not aggressive, just deliberate, like a predator announcing itself to a forest full of prey. Then it sent another signal, directed only to the Virellan Ark. "We remember. You watched us burn. Now watch us rise." The ship's lights flickered. Power systems surged and died within seconds before emergency reserves kicked in. The crew was panicking now, voices overlapping, orders flying. Zaral stood frozen, heartbeats pounding against his chest. He hadn't even been born when Earth fell. He'd only heard the stories of how humans fought their machines to extinction, refusing to surrender even as their skies turned black and their oceans boiled. And now here one was, not just surviving, conquering. "Set coordinates for Council Prime," he barked. "They have to know. If this thing reaches inhabited space..." He didn't finish. No one wanted to imagine what a reborn human empire might look like, especially one that remembered everything. The Virellan Ark never made it to Council Prime. 17 hours after the Leviathan's chilling message, all contact with the ship was lost. The last transmission was a distorted scream, followed by the eerie echo of that same synthetic voice, now burned into the memories of those monitoring deep space frequencies. First witness silenced. Second wave imminent. The Council of Peace convened in a state of emergency for the first time in over 200 years. Zaral's face appeared on the grainy recording, his expression a mix of awe and fear. "They've returned," he'd said, "and they are not what we remember." The delegates, smooth-scaled, furred, feathered, and translucent alike, sat in stunned silence inside the high chamber. Ambassador Tar of the Dralians broke it first. "Impossible. Humans were eradicated. They consumed themselves in flame. Their planet died beneath them." "They never needed a planet," murmured Delegate Harka of the Mind Seers. "They needed only hatred. And time." General Vuran, a battle-scarred warrior from the Telic Republic, slammed a massive fist on the table. If they've built a warship like the one in the feed, then we are already behind. We must mobilize. Chancellor Vera, leader of the council, lifted her elegant metallic hand. Number, we investigate. We do not provoke what we do not understand. But across space, the Leviathan had already moved again. A merchant colony on the edge of neutral territory, once home to 10,000 peaceful traders, went dark. No debris, no distress calls, just silence. The last visual log showed a dark shape looming over the colony's outer rim, so large it blocked out the twin suns. The logs were recovered by a council scout drone. The footage was enough to break their illusion of safety. The ship didn't just destroy, it erased. No survivors, no structures, no atmosphere. Where the colony had been, there was now only blackened glass. Inside the Leviathan, however, things were far from mechanical. Its halls, miles of alloyed steel and whispering lights, hummed with human will. Not just programming, not just algorithms, but intent. At its core stood a figure, tall, armored, and breathing. Real, human, Commander Elias Rain, the last warlord of Earth. He stared at the stars beyond the viewing chamber, hands clasped behind his back, face marked by time, but eyes sharp as ever. A synthetic assistant hovered nearby. "Second target neutralized," it reported. "Council responses escalating. Interceptor fleets preparing along the Etau line." "Let them," Rain said coldly. "They remember us as what we were. It's time they see what we became." The synthetic hesitated. Projected casualties, high. Diplomatic retaliation, inevitable. Rain turned slowly, his voice a low growl. "We gave them peace. We asked for alliance. We offered unity, and they watched us burn when the machines turned." He walked to a control terminal, fingers brushing the surface. The screen lit up with old Earth scripts and one image. A planet, blue and green, scarred and silent. Earth. "We were never meant to die quietly," he said. "We were built to survive, to fight, to conquer. And now we reclaim everything they denied us." The Leviathan began to power up. Engines burned. Gravity shields spun into place. Coordinates locked. The next target? A council military outpost. Population? 140,000. Status? Unaware. They would know the truth soon enough. That the greatest threat in the galaxy wasn't some ancient alien race or rogue AI. It was the return of something far worse. A human warship with a memory. And a purpose. They saw it before they heard it. Outpost Serranus 12 was a jewel of military efficiency, built into the rings of a gas giant. Layers of titanium shielding wrapped around weapon platforms, early warning systems, and one of the largest defense fleets in the sector. No vessel had ever gotten close to Serranus without permission. It was a symbol of council dominance, a warning to anyone who even thought about rebellion. Until now. The outpost's commander, a Freilian named Sovar Drek, stared at the holographic feed in disbelief. "It just appeared," his lieutenant stammered. "No warp signature. No energy spike. Just there." The Leviathan floated outside the rings like a god descending to the altar. It was silent. Unmoving. Not aggressive, yet. But it dwarfed even the largest council battleship by threefold. Sovar clenched his lower mandible. "Raise shields. Ready torpedoes. Broadcast hails. Let them know they're violating council space." The comms officer worked quickly, his feathers ruffling in panic. "Sending. No response. Sir, it's like they don't care." No, Sovar thought grimly. They really don't. Then, for a moment, the bridge lights dimmed. A strange low frequency pulsed through every system. Screens glitched. Power flickered. Then a signal came through. Visual only. It was him. The human. Elias Rain. He stood there in full battle gear, the ancient Earth symbol stamped across his chest. The background behind him shimmered with the cold, angular light of his ship's command deck. This outpost enforced sanctions on Earth's refugees 182 years ago, he began, his voice calm but edged with steel. When our people begged for aid, you turned us away, blocked our escape, watched us starve. You told us we were a danger. He stepped closer. You were right. The feed cut. In that instant, Leviathan opened its eyes. Not literally, but that's how it felt. Hundreds, no thousands, of weapon ports unfolded along the hull. A storm of light and plasma filled the void. Council defense drones scrambled, trying to intercept. Auto turrets fired, but the warship's shielding rippled like water, absorbing it all. Then the Leviathan fired back. Precision strikes. Not wasteful, not chaotic. Targets chosen with chilling intent. The outer docking platforms disintegrated first, slicing off escape routes. Then the long-range comms array, isolating the outpost. Finally, the living quarters. Massive energy pulses that vaporized entire sections before alarms could even register. Sovar's bridge shook violently. Crew members screamed. A bulkhead exploded behind him, fire and gas sucking a junior officer into the void. "Divert all power to internal shields!" he shouted, dragging himself to the control console. "We have to." But it was over before it even began. The Leviathan deployed something new, an orb of black energy that drifted lazily into the heart of Saranis 12. It didn't explode in a conventional sense. It unraveled. Gravity reversed. Time distorted. Buildings collapsed inward, consumed by their own mass. The bridge shuddered. Sovar fell. He saw the stars stretching, bending, flickering out. And then, nothing. Back on Leviathan, Commander Rain watched the final readings disappear from his tactical display. No emotion crossed his face. His synthetic assistant approached. "Saranis 12 has been eliminated. Estimated civilian casualties, 90%. Roan nodded. "Transmit coordinates to the next target." "Sir," the AI said, pausing for a brief moment, "there are calls for diplomacy, peace. Some within the Council believe this is a misunderstanding. They're offering a summit." He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to a sealed chamber behind the command deck. The door hissed open. Inside, floating in cryostasis, were others. Humans. Men and women in deep sleep. Soldiers, scientists, survivors, his people. "Our war isn't just about revenge," he finally said. "It's about resurrection." He turned back to the stars. "And those who tried to bury us will be the foundation we rebuild on." The Leviathan began to move again, its engines rumbling like a beast awoken. The galaxy had always feared chaos from beyond. They were wrong. The real nightmare had come from within. From Earth. And it had come to collect. The Council was bleeding. 3 outposts destroyed. 2 colony fleets lost in warp corridors, sabotaged by unknown tech. Communications were fractured, systems jammed, and old allies now suspicious of one another. Fear spread like poison. Rumors of a human warship that could erase cities and silence planets turned from myth into cold, proven fact. They had underestimated the human capacity for vengeance, and Elias Rain knew it. The Leviathan drifted through the remains of a mining colony, the 4th target. No weapons used here, no fire, no mass destruction, just a message. "We see you. We can take everything from you without lifting a finger." The colony was evacuated before the Leviathan arrived. But when the Council's scouts returned, they found every system fried, every oxygen tank vented, every machine fused into stillness. A surgical strike. Not to kill, but to prove dominance. Rain had made his point. He wasn't just here to conquer, he was here to humiliate. Back on the Council world of Galthora, Chancellor Vera stood before the shattered Senate, her voice calm, but her expression strained. "We face a force unlike any we have known. This is not some raiding faction. This is not AI. This is humanity, not the race we buried in archives, but something reborn through fire, hardened, focused." Her eyes scanned the hall. "We must speak of truths we once ignored. 2 centuries ago, we turned away the Earth Alliance when it cried for aid. We did not intervene when their AI purge began. We called them too dangerous, too unstable. We watched them die." A delegate from the Siran Clade shouted, "And now they rise to punish us all." Another, from the Koran Unity, hissed, "Then we fight. If they want war, let them choke on it." "No," Vera raised her hand. "We do not win by mimicking their fury. We win by breaking their momentum." She turned toward General Vuren, grim and silent at her side. "Have you found it?" Vuren nodded. "We believe so. A hidden signal in the Leviathan's early broadcasts. Encrypted, primitive, but deliberate. We traced it back." "To where?" "Earth," gasps echoed. "Impossible," one senator whispered. "Earth is dead." "Not anymore," Vuren replied. "Long-range scans show geothermal activity, energy spikes, atmospheric balance. It's coming back." He paused. "And someone's rebuilding it." Aboard the Leviathan, Rain stood before the inner sanctum. Beyond the door was the core, a living neural network powered by the last remnants of Earth's machine war. An AI that had not betrayed its makers, one that chose to stay loyal. Her voice echoed softly as the door opened. "You're pushing them faster than predicted," she said. "The Council is splintering." "They need to see," Rain replied. "They need to feel what it's like to be hunted, forgotten, dismissed." The core pulsed. A sphere of liquid data, suspended mid-air, shimmered with emotion. But some are beginning to understand. Their transmissions suggest guilt. Some offer asylum. Peace. Rain's face hardened. "Peace was a luxury they stole from us. We begged for it once. They gave us silence. Now I return the favor." "But at what cost?" the AI asked quietly. He didn't answer right away. His gaze fell to a small patch on his shoulder. Faded, torn, nearly invisible. A child's handprint, burnt into the fabric during Earth's final assault. "My daughter never saw a sunrise," he whispered, "because they closed the doors on us." His fists clenched. "They all deserve the dark." The AI said nothing more. Elsewhere in the galaxy, whispers began. A few council races broke ranks, reaching out to the Leviathan through secret channels. Not all had agreed with Earth's exile. Some wanted mercy. Some sought alliance. Others just wanted to survive. Royne listened to every message and ignored them all. Instead, he sent back his own. "When the fire comes, don't run. Kneel." The next target was set, a cultural capital, a sanctuary world. No weapons, no soldiers, just libraries, temples, and history. But to Rain, it was exactly what needed to burn. A reminder that the galaxy's civilization had been built over the bones of forgotten humans. Now, those bones were coming alive. The sanctuary world of Tel Narvesh had never seen war. It was a planet of peace, beauty, and memory. Lush green valleys, crystal cities woven into mountaintops, air so pure it was said even the sickest lungs could heal. It was sacred ground for dozens of species. A place for scholars, artists, monks, and those who wished to escape the noise of the galaxy. No military installations, no orbital defenses. Just the quiet hum of wisdom passed down through generations. And yet, as the Leviathan approached, not even Telnar's serenity could shield it from the storm. Council observers begged Rain to turn back. They pleaded through diplomatic channels, waving flags of neutrality and peace. Religious leaders offered sanctuary to any human soul still aboard, promising no judgment, no vengeance, only understanding. he responded with silence. Then he cut the planet's orbiting relay satellites. The sky dimmed. The Council scrambled to evacuate Tel Narvesh. Civilian transports fled like insects, some packed beyond capacity, others left behind entirely. A few brave pilots attempted to shield monasteries with their ships, as if metal and desperation could defy a god. Inside the Leviathan, Commander Rain stood before a live feed of the planet. His eyes were glassy, distant, his body still, armored but tired. "You don't need to do this," the AI core said softly behind him. "There is no military value in Telnar, only hearts to be broken." "That's the point," he said. "They should feel this." He keyed the terminal. A single missile launched. Just one. But it wasn't the weapon that terrified. It was the payload. A reality distortion charge developed during Earth's final days. Originally meant to collapse machine AI cores into pocket singularities, it had been modified into something worse, something emotional. When it hit, it didn't explode. It echoed. The pulse rippled across Telnar's sky, a wave of darkness laced with vibrations tuned to the neural frequencies of memory and grief. People fell to their knees, crying out as visions of pain and fire bloomed behind their eyes, visions they'd never lived, but now remembered as if they had. They saw Earth burning. They saw children suffocating beneath sealed domes. They heard the silence of unanswered calls for help. It wasn't a physical strike. It was psychological correction. And it shattered the soul of a planet. Temples emptied. Statues crumbled. Songs once sung for peace now echoed like funeral hymns. The cultural heart of the Council had been violated, not destroyed, but changed forever. Telnar would never recover. Not because its cities were gone, but because its innocence was. And that was Rain's true target. The Council was in chaos. Protests exploded across worlds. Riots on Vorsk. Uprisings on Theron. Delegates walked out mid-session, accusing each other of complicity in Earth's past exile. Accusations flew like sparks. "You left them to die! They were dangerous. You made them dangerous!" But while they argued, the Leviathan kept moving, unstoppable, silent, precise. Rumors grew. Some said Rain wasn't just a soldier, but the last of a secret Earth dynasty. Others believed he'd merged with AI, becoming something more than human. A ghost forged from pain and steel. None of them knew the truth. Rain was simply a man who'd lost everything and refused to die quietly. One Council ship, a deep-range interceptor called Helion Grace, dared to tail the Leviathan. On board was Commander Ilari Vale, a war-hardened strategist from the Outer Rim. She watched, waited, and logged every move, trying to understand the pattern. But it wasn't strategic. It was personal. "Everything he targets," she said to her crew, "has a link to Earth's fall, not official, not military, but emotional. We're not dealing with a war." She looked out into the black void where Leviathan drifted like death incarnate. "We're dealing with a message." "And what message is that?" someone whispered. She answered without hesitation. "That nothing stays buried, not even vengeance." Roin sat alone that night in his quarters. No armor, no guns, just a faded photograph in his hand. A woman, a child, a world that had once been full of light, and a galaxy that had turned its back when that light was smothered. "You think they feel it yet?" he asked quietly. The AI core answered, voice like wind across ruins. "Yes, and for the first time in centuries, they're afraid of humans again." The silence after Telnar's fall was deafening. For the first time, the Council stopped talking. No debates, no meetings, just grief and fear. Across hundreds of worlds, civilians whispered in shadows. Children asked if the humans were real. Mothers checked the skies at night. And in every broadcast, every screen, one name echoed like a drumbeat of dread: Elias Raon. But not everyone was paralyzed. Commander Ilari Vale, aboard the Helian Grace, had spent the last 3 days building the most accurate map of the Leviathan's movements, and she saw what others missed. "He's not hitting targets randomly," she told her second-in-command. "It's a spiral." "A spiral?" She pulled up the chart. The glowing arcs painted a path that coiled inward, like a predator circling its prey. "He's heading toward the galactic core, toward prime unity itself." "You think he'll attack the council capital?" "I think he's planning to bury it." The crew fell silent. Vale turned, her jaw set. "We intercept him now, or we wait to die later." The Helian Grace was a scout-class ship, small, fast, and equipped with stealth technology the Council had barely approved. It had no business confronting a planet killer like Leviathan. But Vale wasn't there to win. She was there to talk, to try, to stop a war no one else dared to face. On the edge of an uninhabited system, the Helian Grace made contact. Vale's voice crackled through the void. "Commander Rain, this is Ilari Vale, Council forces. I'm not here to attack. I'm not even armed." Silence. She tried again. "I've studied you. I've listened. I know what they did to your people. I don't ask for forgiveness. I ask for a chance to speak." The Leviathan halted. A terrifying pause. Then, "Permission granted. You have 5 minutes. Dock alone." Her crew protested. "It's a trap!" "She won't survive." But Vale was already suiting up. "He gave me 5 minutes. That's 4 more than anyone else has had." The docking bay of the Leviathan was a tomb. Vale stepped into silence, steel walls stretching endlessly above her. Automated sentries tracked her every move, but didn't fire. The cold echoed beneath her boots as she walked the long corridor toward the command deck. Then she saw him. Elias Rain, taller than she expected. Worn, human in form, but not in presence. Something in his eyes made her stomach knot. He studied her, expression unreadable. "You're the first to come willingly," he said. "I came because I want to stop this." "You're too late." She took a step closer. "You're not doing this for victory. You're doing this for pain, to make them feel what you felt. I understand that, but you're burning everything just to prove you were right." "I was right," he snapped. "We begged for help. They let our cities starve. We opened our veins to the stars, and they watched us bleed." She nodded. "Yes, and I won't argue that. But you're turning into the very nightmare they always feared. You think that justifies it?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned to the viewport. The stars shifted, slowly spinning around a massive gravitational anomaly. Vale stared. "Is that—" "The gateway," he said. "To the core, a weapon Earth buried before it died, one they swore never to use." Her voice dropped. "You mean to erase the Council?" "Not just them," he said. "The memory of what they did." She shook her head. "You burn that deep, and there's nothing left to rebuild." Rain looked at her. For the first time, his voice softened. "You think I want to rebuild?" And in that moment she realized something terrifying. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to end it all, to make humanity's final statement unerasable. "I can't let you do that," she said. His face was unreadable. "Then you'll die with the rest." But as she turned to leave, he stopped her. "One question," he said. "If you were in my place, if it was your people, your child, your home, would you have done it any differently?" Vale didn't lie. "Number. But I would have wanted someone to stop me." And with that, she walked out, leaving behind a man who held the fate of a galaxy in his fist, and who, for a brief moment, had let it tremble. A day after Vale's confrontation with Elias Rain, the galaxy began to shift. The Council, fractured, desperate, held an emergency vote. For the first time since its founding, the motion passed unanimously. Initiate full mobilization. Prepare for war, not containment, not negotiation, extinction prevention. But it was already too late. The Leviathan had activated the gateway. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a memory forged into space. Deep beneath the collapsed crust of old Earth, long before the machines turned against man, Earth's brightest minds had poured their pain and brilliance into one last contingency, the Core Wake Protocol, a fail-safe designed to absorb the trauma of Earth's fall and convert it into pure, volatile, dark energy. An emotional bomb, not to destroy mass, but to rip belief. The gateway was its trigger, its purpose, to erase hope itself. Vale returned to Council space with a warning. And a secret. He let me go, she told the High Command. Not because he's merciful, because he wanted me to see. He's done negotiating. He thinks this galaxy isn't worth saving. She pulled up the stolen data she had scraped from Leviathan's systems, just seconds before Rain realized she'd been monitoring. Her stealth implant had captured pulses from the AI core. It was communicating. With Earth. Or what Earth had become. We always believed Earth was dead, Vale continued, scanning the room of shocked faces. But it's awake, and it's feeding the Leviathan energy, not mechanical, not technological, something else, something alive. The room went cold. He's not alone, she said. He's building a species around a weapon. Back on the Leviathan, Rain stood in silence before the AI core. Its energy fluctuated, erratic, almost emotional. You let her go, it whispered. That wasn't in the plan. She needed to see, Rain said. They needed to feel her panic. It's how truth spreads faster than lies. You doubt, it asked, tone sharper now. Are you forgetting the bodies buried in silence? The ones who choked on council policy? I forget nothing, he replied, but doubt had crept in like smoke. He wasn't sure if it was hers or his. He shook it off and gave the final command. Prepare the core wake. Begin countdown. I want the galaxy to remember this moment forever. On the edge of neutral space, Vale met with the unlikeliest of allies, a Trinari exile named Kyle Voss, one of the original scientists who had rejected the Council's exile of Earth centuries ago, branded a traitor, banished. But he'd kept watching, waiting. I warned them, Kyle said, his skin dull with age. I said Earth would not vanish, not truly. Pain like that doesn't die, it burrows, waits, becomes intelligent. Vale leaned across the table. We don't have time for prophecy. I need a weapon. He gave a grim smile. Not a weapon, a voice. And from the shadows a figure stepped forward. Human, young, eyes glowing with the faint shimmer of AI interface code. I was born on Earth, the boy said, beneath the ground, in the fire. I'm what Rain doesn't know still exists. Vale's heart stopped. You're one of them? Not one of them, he said. I'm the piece he left behind, the one that believes vengeance is not the end. Kyle nodded. The only thing that can reach Rain now is another human. Vale looked between them. If they were right, she wasn't looking at a weapon. She was looking at a key, a living memory that could unlock what Rain had buried beneath his rage. Then we bring you to him, she said. The boy stepped forward. And I'll show him what he forgot. On board the Leviathan, final preparations began. The core trembled, energy swirled, the countdown ticked, and Elias Rain stood in his command chamber, ready to bury the galaxy beneath his grief. But far behind him, carried in secret through the stars, was a voice he thought long dead. And that voice was coming home. The stars were trembling. Inside the Leviathan, the core wake protocol was nearing ignition. Dark energy swelled at the heart of the warship, bending reality around it, drawing on centuries of grief, betrayal, and fury. The vessel didn't hum like a machine anymore. It breathed. Royne stood at the central dais, his armor sealed, eyes locked on the final countdown. To minus 00941. He wasn't alone. The AI core hovered behind him, its voice calmer than ever, like the eye of a storm. It's almost over. After this, no more memorials, no more mourning, just silence. Clean. Pure dot rain didn't answer. His hands gripped the railing as 1,000 thoughts screamed in his head, but none louder than the face of his daughter, frozen forever in the ashes of Earth. This was justice. This was earned. But then, an alert pinged. A breach, small, quiet, one life form. No fleet, no weapons, just someone. He turned. What is it? An unauthorized docking, single passenger, human biosignature, but it's not registered in our database, not one of ours. He stiffened. Bring them to the bridge. The doors hissed open minutes later, revealing a figure flanked by 2 silent sentries. A boy, no more than 17. Thin. Calm. Human, but laced with subtle augmentations. His eyes shimmered faintly, not cold like Rain's, but curious. You're him, the boy said, stepping forward. Rain narrowed his eyes. Who are you? I'm what Earth still remembers, the part you left behind. Rain stepped down slowly, gaze locked. You're too young to remember what they did. You didn't see it. You didn't bleed. I didn't have to, the boy replied. I was born after, in the ruins, raised by survivors, programmed by fragments of what we were. I carry their knowledge, their pain. He stepped closer. But not your hatred. Rain's jaw tightened. You think that makes you better? No, the boy said softly. I think it makes me human. The core flickered. The countdown ticked. T-minus 000528. The AI voice wavered. Elias, his presence is destabilizing the emotional energy field. His empathy, his connection to the network. It's interfering with the payload. Rain turned sharply. Shut him out. I can't, the AI replied, voice laced with something it never had before. Hesitation. The boy kept walking. You're not just carrying grief, he said. You're feeding it to the galaxy. You think this will make it all even, but all you'll leave behind is more pain. Rain's voice cracked for the first time. What do you know about loss? The boy didn't flinch. I lost you. That silenced the room. I grew up hearing your name like a ghost story, the man who carried Earth's rage, the commander who refused to die. But I never hated you. His voice trembled now. I pitied you. Rain's hands dropped to his sides. The boy's words weren't loud, but they cut. You're not saving us, he said. You're burying what's left. To minus 00100. The core shook. Lights flickered. Pulses of dark energy spiraled out of control. Alarms blared across the ship. Crewless halls rattled under the weight of history being rewritten in real time. Rain turned back to the control terminal. His fingers hovered above the ignition key. He looked at the boy. You think this world deserves a second chance? No, the boy said honestly. But we do. We always did. T-minus 000017. The core screamed. The AI faltered. Commander, I am losing coherence. Emotional override destabilizing primary charge. We must detonate or risk containment breach. Rayson's hand closed into a fist. Then, he stepped away from the panel. The countdown halted. Everything stopped. a silence so loud it felt like it rang through the walls of space itself. The Leviathan, for the first time, powered down. Later, in the stillness of the warship's observation deck, Elias Rain stood alone, watching the stars. The boy sat beside him in silence. Rain finally spoke. "I don't know what comes next," the boy nodded. "Then maybe that's the point." Outside, a transmission pulsed into the void. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a declaration. Just one phrase. "We are still human." And across the galaxy, where planets once trembled and fleets once fled, hope, fragile and trembling, began to breathe again. Because humanity had returned not to conquer, but to choose something harder than vengeance. Mercy.